Every fan of action cinema remembers the thrill. Explosions shaking the screen, heroes defying impossible odds, and stunts that make hearts race. Yet what if the films you thought you knew were only half the story? Behind the scenes, many action movies were shot in dual versions, one for domestic release, another for international audiences, sometimes with entirely different endings, stunts, or sequences that drastically changed the tension and stakes. What you saw in theaters may not be what the filmmakers originally intended. Imagine an actor perched on a cliff edge, wires barely supporting him, performing a jump that never appears in the US release, or a climactic fight sequence that was extended in Europe, with danger and intensity removed from the American cut. These hidden versions reveal a world where cinematic reality diverges, depending on market, censorship, or artistic experimentation. Directors and studios navigated a fine line between creativity, safety, and audience sensibilities, often resulting in multiple parallel realities of a single story. From the late 82nds to the early 2000s, action films frequently existed in this dual state. Scenes that thrilled one audience might have been deemed too risky, too violent, or culturally inappropriate for another. Stunts performed without digital safety nets, intense gunfights, and alternative endings were sometimes excised entirely, leaving domestic viewers with a curated version of the experience. Meanwhile, international audiences or home video collectors witnessed sequences that transformed perception of heroism, danger, and suspense. In this countdown, we'll explore 15 action films that were shot twice, and you've only seen one version. From hidden stunts to reimagined finales, these films contain secrets, twists, and chaos that remained invisible to most audiences. Each story unveils a fragment of cinematic history that challenges what we think we know about these beloved action classics. Let's uncover the hidden layers, risks, and surprises that have been waiting behind the scenes, unseen by the majority of viewers. Factraute 1. Bloodsport, 1988. Version 3. Bloodsport remains a martial arts classic, but its intensity varied depending on the version. Jean-Claude Van Damme and stunt performers executed high-risk fights, which were trimmed in the US, released to reduce visible violence. The international edition preserved the full sequences, including close-ups of strikes, sweat, and injuries, creating a raw and visceral experience. Editors extended reaction shots and prolonged fight sequences for the international cut, heightening suspense and the perceived stakes. By contrast, the US version streamlined the action to maintain pacing and accessibility. The difference dramatically altered audience perception. American viewers saw a controlled display of skill, while international audiences witnessed the full scale of danger and athleticism. Bloodsport exemplifies how subtle edits can fundamentally reshape the cinematic experience, revealing that a single film can exist in multiple realities depending on what is shown or hidden. Fact #2. Double Impact, 1991. Double Impact starred Jean-Claude Van Damme in dual roles. But behind the scenes, two endings were shot to satisfy different markets. The USW theatrical cut concluded ambiguously, leaving the villain's fate unresolved and emphasizing moral tension. Meanwhile, the international version offered a clear resolution, with justice served and character arcs fully realized. Actors adjusted performances to convey subtle shifts in emotion for each version. Directors also modified camera angles, pacing, and lighting to match the tone of each cut. While the US version preserved suspense and ambiguity, the international cut emphasized clarity and narrative closure. Audiences who discovered both endings later noted how dramatically the story's emotional weight changed. What felt morally complex and edgy in one version became satisfying and conclusive in another. Double Impact illustrates how editorial decisions can create parallel realities within a single film, altering the viewer's experience based entirely on which cut is seen. Fact #3. Midnight Run, 1988. Midnight Run is known for high-octane car chases, yet it existed in two forms. For television broadcasts, several sequences were trimmed, removing moments of real peril and stunt intensity. The US theatrical cut preserved these dangerous maneuvers, performed without digital enhancements, heightening suspense and excitement. Cinematographers adjusted angles, lighting, and pacing for both versions, tailoring danger and tension to the intended audience. The TV cut focused on clarity and continuity, while the theatrical version delivered adrenaline and risk. Viewers unaware of the full version missed the raw thrill of stunts executed by the actors themselves. This dual existence underscores the unseen risks and editorial choices behind action cinema. Midnight Run exemplifies how a single movie can hold hidden layers, revealing intensity and danger often invisible to mainstream audiences. Fact Hash 4. The Peacekeeper. 1997. The Peacekeeper contained an explosive sequence that differed between the original VHS and television broadcasts. The VHS showcased a dramatic indoor explosion with debris, fire, and smoke. For TV, editors trimmed and simplified the sequence, softening danger and tension for broader audiences. Crew members meticulously adjusted pyrotechnics and camera angles for each version. Actors performed with heightened urgency for the VHS cut, whereas the TV cut emphasized safety and continuity. The difference in presentation subtly reshaped the viewer's experience. The VHS felt raw and thrilling, the TV cut controlled and restrained. Fans who later accessed the original VHS noticed a significant increase in tension and danger. The Peacekeeper illustrates how editorial decisions, even small ones, can drastically alter cinematic experience, highlighting how a single film can exist in multiple realities. Fact Hash 5. The Base 2. Guilty as Charged. 2000. The Base 2. Guilty as Charged was marketed as a typical action sequel, yet behind the scenes, the film existed in two distinct forms. The US theatrical cut emphasized clarity and pacing, while the Canadian or international version included an alternate soundtrack and revised voiceover, enhancing suspense and giving explosions and stunts a more intense, palpable energy. Actors repeated sequences to accommodate both versions. Directors adjusted camera angles for the international cut to highlight danger, creating a more immersive experience. Critics and audiences largely evaluated only the US release, unaware of the heightened tension in the alternative version. Fans who later discovered the Canadian cut remarked on its increased intensity, noting that even small differences in timing, sound, and visual emphasis dramatically altered the impact of stunts and fight sequences. The Base 2 demonstrates how parallel versions can transform audience experience, revealing layers of cinematic craft often unseen by mainstream viewers. Fact Hash 6. Night of the Warrior. 1991. Night of the Warrior exists in two distinct forms. European audiences saw extended sequences, nudity, torture, and lengthy fight scenes, while the US release trimmed or removed these moments entirely. Actors performed demanding stunts that only survived in the European version, including rooftop fights and high-intensity hand-to-hand combat. Cinematographers captured light, shadow, and movement to enhance realism and tension in the international cut. The US version simplified these sequences for accessibility and censorship, altering suspense and character perception. European VHS and DVD releases revealed a more daring, visceral interpretation, invisible to most domestic audiences. This duality demonstrates how editing choices, geography, and censorship shape cinematic experience. Even familiar action films can hide unseen layers, and Night of the Warrior exemplifies how much of the true intensity often remains unseen. Fact Hash 7. The Order. 2001. The Order faced an unusual challenge in 2001, creating alternate endings for different markets. The US version concluded ambiguously, leaving the antagonist's fate unresolved, while a separate cut for Middle Eastern audiences presented a more conclusive and less violent finale. Directors reshot dialogue and rearranged sequences, carefully adjusting performances, camera angles, and pacing to match cultural expectations. Western test audiences embraced ambiguity and tension. Middle Eastern audiences preferred resolution and clarity. The international cut retained intensity and moral complexity, whereas the regional version emphasized accessibility and restraint. Fans who later discovered both endings noted how dramatically the tone shifted. A scene that felt unresolved and edgy in one version appeared satisfying and morally clear in another. The Order illustrates that editorial and cultural decisions can create parallel cinematic realities, fundamentally altering the audience's emotional journey. Fact Hashite. Midnight Man. 1995. Imagine a shadowed cityscape, slick with rain, neon reflections dancing on the pavement, and a lone figure darting through alleyways with bullets cutting the air. Midnight Man was secretly filmed in two versions. The US theatrical cut eliminated nearly 20 minutes of high-risk stunts, rooftop chases, brutal fights, and sequences where the lead narrowly escaped collapsing structures. The international cut preserved all these sequences. Actors performed dangerous stunts, including a rooftop leap executed without safety wires, shots entirely missing from the US release. Crew members remembered the intensity and exhaustion on set, the physical toll that was invisible to domestic audiences. These cuts changed pacing and suspense, leaving the American version feeling controlled, while the international version radiated raw peril. European and Asian audiences witnessed the full scale of danger, tension, and daring. This discrepancy exemplifies how editing and censorship can drastically alter a viewer's experience, turning the same story into two distinct cinematic journeys. Midnight Man sets the stage for the hidden realities that follow in our countdown, proving that what you see is often only half the tale. Fact 19. Rapid Fire, 1992. Rapid Fire, starring Brandon Lee, blended martial arts with gunplay, yet two versions were created, a US theatrical cut and an international edition. While the storyline remained consistent, the international version retained longer fight sequences, stunt jumps, and gunplay, enhancing the intensity and risk. Brandon Lee and the stunt team performed demanding choreography multiple times for both cuts. Cinematographers and editors adjusted camera angles, lighting, and pacing to heighten suspense in the international version, while maintaining clarity in the US release. The American cut trimmed sequences for accessibility, reducing perceived peril. This dual existence affected rhythm, tension, and the perception of heroism. International audiences experienced a more dangerous and thrilling version, while US viewers received a streamlined narrative. Rapid Fire highlights how editorial and cultural considerations can create hidden cinematic realities, preserving sequences unseen by the mainstream audience. Fact Cardinalum Zero. Desperado, 1995. Desperado, Robert Rodriguez's stylish revenge film, exists in multiple forms. The US theatrical cut-trimmed gunfight sequences and explosions for pacing, while international editions preserved extended action, enhancing suspense and danger. Actors repeated stunts for both versions, including intricate gunplay and combat choreography. Cinematographers altered angles and lighting to heighten tension in the international cut. The US version maintained story flow but sacrificed some intensity and stylistic flair. Fans who discovered the international version reported significantly greater perceived danger and energy. Desperado illustrates how editorial decisions can create hidden layers within familiar films, revealing the true risks and ambitions often unseen by mainstream audiences. Fact Hassonen. Hard Target, 1993. John Woo's Hard Target is known for its rooftop chases and stylistic gunplay, yet multiple versions were created for different audiences. High-risk wire stunts and chase sequences were shortened for US theaters but retained in international editions, emphasizing danger and skill. Van Damme and the stunt team performed wire-assisted jumps and rooftop confrontations with minimal safety modifications. Directors adjusted camera angles and pacing to intensify suspense in the international cut, while the US version prioritized narrative clarity. This produced two distinct experiences, visceral and thrilling abroad, controlled and polished domestically. This duality underscores how censorship and editorial choices shape audience perception. International viewers experienced heightened intensity, while domestic audiences missed the full scale of risk. Hard Target exemplifies the hidden realities behind action cinema. Fact Raute 12. Sudden Death, 1995. Sudden Death is celebrated for its high-stakes hockey arena showdown, but few viewers realize it exists in two distinct forms. During production, sequences involving catwalk stunts and perilous maneuvers were filmed for both theatrical release and television broadcast. The US version trimmed or simplified stunts to meet safety and rating requirements, while international audiences experienced the full-risk sequences. Jean-Claude Van Damme executed dangerous leaps and stunts without harnesses for the theatrical cut. Cinematographers captured wide angles, reaction shots, and precise timing, fully preserved in the international edition. This divergence created distinct experiences, one safe and streamlined, the other raw and adrenaline-fueled. Audiences who discovered the international cut were struck by the heightened sense of peril and heroism. Sudden death demonstrates how editorial and cultural considerations can produce hidden layers in action cinema, fundamentally altering the perceived stakes and intensity. Fact Hasson 3. Universal Soldier. The Return. 1999. Universal Soldier. The Return combined futuristic stunts and explosive sequences, yet not all audiences saw the same experience. Two versions were produced, theatrical and home video. The home video edition included extended robotic fight sequences and amplified explosions, creating a more immersive experience. Director Mike Rogers reshot sequences to accommodate both cuts. Actors executed complex wirework and combat stunts, some shortened or removed for theaters. Cinematographers employed alternate angles and effects to heighten suspense in the extended cut. Home video audiences witnessed greater risk and thrill, while theatergoers saw a safer, streamlined version. Universal Soldier. The Return exemplifies how modern action films can harbor hidden layers, rewarding viewers who seek out alternative versions. Fact Hasson 4. The Substitute 21998. The Substitute 2 expanded its predecessor with intense combat scenes. Two versions were filmed, one for US theaters and another for international audiences. The international cut retained longer fight sequences, showing the full risk and skill of the actors, while the US version trimmed sequences for pacing and content standards. Actors performed high-risk stunts repeatedly, fully captured only in the international edition. Directors and editors adjusted lighting, camera angles, and pacing to maximize tension abroad while ensuring the US cut remained coherent. The resulting divergence altered audience experience. International viewers perceived greater danger and intensity, while domestic audiences received a streamlined version. The Substitute 2 illustrates how a single film can exist in parallel realities, each reshaping perceptions of heroism and suspense. Fact Hasson 5. Lethal Weapon 4 1998. Lethal Weapon 4 is renowned for blending dark humor with high-stakes action. Yet the film existed in two subtly distinct forms. For international audiences, chase sequences and shootouts were extended, emphasizing danger and suspense, while the US cut trimmed these sequences for pacing and comedic timing. Actors Mel Gibson and Danny Glover performed stunts repeatedly for both cuts. Cinematographers framed wider angles in the international version to fully capture the physical stakes, whereas the US version focused on story clarity. The divergence created two experiences, one exhilarating and visceral, the other streamlined and polished. Fans who discovered the international version noted the heightened tension and peril, realizing the full scope of the stunts and danger performed by the actors. Lethal Weapon 4 demonstrates how editorial choices can craft hidden layers that subtly reshape audience perception and emotional engagement. Bonus fact: the lost cut of Cliffhanger, 1993. This one didn't make the top 15, yet it may be the most astonishing of all. During the production of Cliffhanger, Sylvester Stallone and the stunt team filmed an alternate mountaintop rescue sequence that was never released. The original cut featured extended stunts, actors dangling from cliffs, ropes straining to their limits, and a daring helicopter maneuver far riskier than the theatrical release. Studio executives, concerned about insurance and ratings, mandated edits that removed or softened these sequences. Crew members recall Stallone insisting on performing crucial climbs and jumps himself, emphasizing authenticity and raw suspense. Some footage survived only in international editions or private reels, invisible to the majority of viewers. Fans who discovered the lost sequences described a film transformed. The mountaintop rescue felt more dangerous, suspenseful, and visceral, exposing the true stakes of the production. The Lost Cut highlights how even blockbuster films conceal alternate realities, often hidden for practical, commercial, or cultural reasons. It underscores the unseen risks and creative decisions behind the action, revealing the danger and ambition that audiences seldom witness. Which of these hidden versions shocked you the most? Were the studios justified in limiting what audiences saw, or did they conceal the full thrill of these films? Some stunts were performed without safety measures, some endings completely reimagined, yet most viewers only witnessed a fraction of the filmmaker's vision. Share your thoughts. Which alternate cut would you most want to see? And tell us, what is the most daring action scene you've ever experienced on screen, theatrical, or hidden?